We are about to begin the Veterans History Project interview. My name is Tony Kierna. I am the genealogy coordinator of the Schaumburg Township District Library in Schaumburg, Illinois. I will be interviewing Earl Marik, U.S. Army, Korean War veteran, regarding his military service. Today's date is April the 30th, 2019. The interview is being conducted in the Schaumburg Township District Library TV studio. Also present in the room is Jackie Marik, wife of Earl Marik. No one else is present in the room. Earl, thank you for participating in the Veterans History Project. Thank you for your military service. It is a privilege and an honor to conduct this interview with you.
Well, thank you.
So, Earl, let's start at the beginning. What year were you born?
1930.
And where were you born?
I was born in Evanston, Illinois,
Oh.
St. Francis Hospital.
Okay. And how about your parents? What were their names?
My name, my mother's was Ruth, and my dad was Edward.
Okay. Did you have brothers and sisters?
No brothers and
Oh,
sisters.
an only child.
Right.
Okay. And where did you go to school when you were growing up?
Well, I went in Chicago. We lived in the suburbs.
Okay.
Went to it was Norwood Park Township.
Okay.
Before they made it a couple of towns.
Okay.
And a two-room building. Then at 12, when I was 12, we moved up north to Rhinelander, Wisconsin.
Okay.
And I went to junior high and high school there.
Okay. Do you know what the reason was why your family moved up to Rhinelander?
I had asthma real bad. And my dad was originally from up north, and he had problems too. So we moved up there. One of the reasons we moved up there.
Okay. And you did that when you said you were 12?
I was 12.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you go to high school up there then?
Yes, Rhinelander High School.
Okay. And after high school, did you have the chance to get into any college, any advanced schooling, or was...
I went to, in Stevens Point, Central State Teachers College.
Okay.
Now it's the university,
Okay.
Wisconsin University satellite.
Okay. And were you actually able to finish and get a degree there?
No, I only went 1 year or a semester.
Okay.
And then I went to school in southern Indiana for linotype and machinist.
Wow.
Linotype.
So it sounded like you were sort of moving around, Rhinelander, Indiana, originally in Chicago. So at this point in your life, how is it that you started becoming to get involved in the military? What was happening at that time?
Well, the Korean War started, and I was drafted. In fact, I volunteered for the draft. I was working in Waukesha, Wisconsin, in a Waukesha Daily Freeman, and I went up north to Rhinelander often, and I know everybody in town, everybody, small town. I asked them, what number am I in the draft? He told me I was number 3, and for the next draft, I said, well, I'm going to quit my job and take a vacation. Okay. And he can put me down for the next month.
Wow.
So I took a vacation and went out west and with my parents.
Okay.
And got back, and the month came up with my name in it, so I was drafted.
Okay. And again, was the draft occurring out of Rhinelander or?
Rhinelander.
Right. Okay.
There were 5 that went that month from Rhinelander.
And so again, you were drafted into the Army.
Right.
And where did you go for your basic training?
Fort Belvoir, Virginia.
Okay.
I first went from Rhinelander, took a bus to Milwaukee, and I had tests in there, some building there, I don't know where. And then we trained to Fort Belvoir for basic training.
Okay.
I had basic 6 weeks of infantry and 8 weeks of combat engineer.
Okay. What did your parents think of you going into the military?
Oh, I don't know. They had no way of stopping it, I guess.
Okay. Okay. So now, after your basic training, where did you go for advanced training?
Advanced training. Well, I didn't have any then. I was just when I left Fort Belvoir, I had 5 days to get to the West Coast. So I had a couple days vacation there, and I just took a train to from Fort Belvoir, or actually it's Washington, D.C., and to Chicago, and then my parents met me there, and then we drove up to Rhinelander.
Okay.
And I was there a couple days, and I took a train to the West Coast in Washington to Tacoma. And then I was at a Navy base there.
Okay.
For a week.
Any idea why you were on a Navy base? Was that because that's where they were just assigning you to go, even though you were in the Army?
They had the barracks, I guess.
Okay. Okay.
And then I was assigned. We took a ship to. Finally ended up in Japan, and I experienced the first earthquake. I was in the upper bunk, and I woke up about 2 in the morning, and the bunk was going from one side to the other side on 2 legs, and 2 legs on this side, and I thought somebody was horsing around. I looked around, there was nobody there.
Wow. And this was occurring in Japan?
In Japan, yeah. And everybody was running out of the building, and there was an earthquake. So never experienced another one.
Wow. So in Japan, you guys were all sort of gathering because that was the spot to prepare to go to Korea?
We had medical tests, and decided that at that time I was going to a repo depot in Japan, and that's where they decided where I was going to go, and it was the Far East. And there's 2,000 diseases that have names, and 5,000 that did not have names. So we had a lot of shots.
Wow.
And to prevent whatever.
By this time, had you made friends with a lot of the group that you were with?
Not really, no. They just didn't know the names even.
Because everybody was going to go their own way
Right.
at that point in time.
We had reconditioning marches there. We were there a week, so they had to recondition us. We were on the boat for 10 days. And on the boat we went through a typhoon. A lot of guys had broken arms, broken legs.
What time of the year was this that you were going to Japan?
It was before Thanksgiving.
Okay.
Because we spent Thanksgiving in a repo depot in Korea, and we had our skillets. We carried Army skillets, and they just tossed a scoop of everything into that same skillet for Thanksgiving. But
see, we
had more tests in Japan to figure out where we were going to go. Where I don't know if they did everybody, but they found out I was a licensed pilot, and I like to take pictures and process them myself in a dark room. So they decided I would be going to aerial photo outfit. So I took a train, took a boat to Busan, Korea,
Okay.
after I figured out what I was doing, or were going to. And it was an iron tub that was outfitted for, I think, 1,500, and there were 5,000 of us on there. We were only 2 days there, going there, and someone was sleeping in the shower room, showers, and there's no place to eat. They had line. You didn't know what the line was for. You just got in it. I had bought at the PX a package of Hershey bars, so I lived on the Hershey bars for 2 days.
Well, that sounds like that was a smart choice to get that in advance.
Because I couldn't find a line that went to for Chow. And we got to Busan, and took a train up to Seoul.
Okay.
And a truck came and got me at Seoul's train station there. Went further north, and we went to Kimpo Air Base, and it was the 8199th Army Unit, aerial photo unit. And that's how I got there. And I had OJT there for the jobs that we had to do on the job training.
Oh, yeah, okay, OJT.
On the job training,
yeah.
And when I got there and and was taking instructions, and I had to do some of the things. One of the things was burning old photos, and I had a armed guard on me for 3 weeks until they, wherever I went. The latrines, well, the latrine was a 55-gallon drum halfway in the ground, with a board over it. But he was with me for 3 weeks till I was checked out at my hometown. They checked, see if I was good enough to stay there, wow. I guess. And I passed, I guess, and I was staying there. So.
And can I ask you, were the photos that you were burning, were those photos that had been taken from the air and were no longer needed? That
were not used anymore.
Okay. So you had to dispose of them properly so nobody else could get a hold of them.
Three or four of us there that were doing that.
Okay.
And it's a big pit in back of the photo lab.
And again, were you on an air base at this time?
It's an air base, yeah.
Okay.
Kimpo Air Base.
Okay. And I assume
we were on the reconnaissance side. The other side was the fighter pilot side.
Oh.
And a big runway. We lived in tents. Spent 2 winters in a tent.
Wow.
There. We had a job doing photo processing, and we learned the whole thing with our on-the-job training. We learned every aspect of the business.
Okay.
Producing these photos and flak maps for pilots.
Now, what's a flak map?
A flak map is a drawn, well, it's of the area where the pilot is going, the bombers are going to go, or the big guns are going to shoot at, where there was flak coming, where there were emplacements where they would
I gotcha.
get
So in
shot
other-
down or
So you were giving them like a heads up of that
Right,
particular
right.
space to be
Yeah.
cautious because this is where they could be shot at.
right.
Wow. So how many men were in your tent?
In our tent?
Yeah.
6.
And again, you did this through summer and winter?
Oh, summer and winter in the tent. We did have a wood floor, and about 3 feet up, 4 feet up was wood, and the rest of it was tent.
Okay. Was everybody that was in your tent in the photographic area?
Oh yeah, right.
Everybody
That's
was
all our outfit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So give us an idea. What would be like an average day or an average mission that you were supporting when you had to do your thing with the photography?
Well, we went to the photo lab, which was a corrugated metal building. And when I got there in, was it September, October, somewhere on there. And first thing when I got there, I had to dig my foxhole.
Okay.
Because we were, we had a bed check Charlie. There was some biplanes from the north, the Chinese and the North Koreans.
Okay.
They had a biplane that they only flew 50, 60 feet off the ground, and they came in at night, and everybody had to jump in the foxhole, and then because they came at 10 o'clock. I mean, that was bed check Charlie. And they dropped a few small bombs they only worried about the runway. They wanted to stop the planes from running.
Okay. Okay.
Leaving. So they dropped a few planes, and then they used their small zip guns and shot a few holes wherever they could see. Then they went in between the mountains again. And our gun emplacements were all around the field. The Air Force had, I don't know, maybe the Army also, but they couldn't shoot because these little planes, they're only 50 feet off the ground, so they'd shoot at each other.
I see.
So they didn't get shot at because they only flew 50, 60 feet.
Well, then
they come in at night when the moonlit nights.
Okay.
So if it was going to be moonlight, we got close to our home.
I mean, it sounds like they knew exactly the procedure, that if they go low, that they would be somewhat untouched. Did we ever send up any of our own planes after them?
There wasn't time. They were too low for the radar to hit them.
I see what you're
find
saying.
them.
Okay.
And they were, all of a sudden they were there.
Okay.
And they dropped the bombs and shot what they could, and then went back again. And they never find them.
So how long did that process last each night? 10 minutes, 20 minutes?
It probably lasted a half hour, and all together.
And were you then in your foxhole?
Oh yeah, because they could be shooting around with their guns. What they had, I don't know how many bullets they had, but they did that, and they got out.
Did you have any close calls?
I didn't know. I was in a hole.
Best place to be. See, I guess that's the wisest thing that you guys started then when they told you dig that hole first so you've got a place to go.
That was the first winter I was there. They had, in 1952 it was much quieter. But I got there the fall of 51.
Okay. How was it being there in the winter time?
It was cold.
Did you have any relief, any heat down there that you could get?
In our tents we had 2 small oil heaters that kept the tent warm. It was a big enough tent for 6 people, you know, when it got real cold, we had a 55-gallon drum outside of jet fuel. It was like kerosene, or fuel oil, and a rubber hose running into the little burners we had. And when it got real cold, the fuel wouldn't run through the rubber hose. It would thicken up, so we had to bring that in, put it in the middle of the pit, the barrels of oil, so we have heat.
Wow.
There was, and we were rationed so many gallons a week, or a month, whatever. I don't know how often they just came around and filled the barrels when or give our allotment.
Did you guys ever run out of fuel? That it got really cold and you had nothing?
Now there was midnight reconnaissance, midnight acquisition.
Okay.
3-4 guys went out looking in the middle of the night, and we found a 55-gallon drum that we could manipulate, and we took it off there, and we kicked it and rolled it over to our tent, brought it inside the tent. And,
wow.
And we had oil. That was our midnight acquisition.
Did you have to do that frequently?
Not frequently, but a few times.
Wow. Did you, I mean, would you have gotten in trouble had anybody realized?
I imagine we would have,
but everybody seemed to be that was the way to survive.
Yeah, they just complained. I imagine they just complained and they got another barrel. But we disposed of the barrel someplace else when it was empty. You know. Okay.
So take me through again. What is the process like of you? Let's say a plane returns to base. They must have the film or the photographs, on board that you guys have to develop.
The day missions were big. They were. We put them on 10 by 20 paper, and whatever they were shooting. I don't know why they had the missions, but they had the missions for some reason.
When the plane landed, did somebody bring you this big undeveloped?
Oh yeah, that was all. I'll tell you, it's Air Force people.
Okay.
I was a small Army unit attached to the Air Force, and we did the work and told the Air Force people what to do.
Okay. But were these like big cans of film that you guys had to develop?
The day missions were the 8.5 by 10 by 20 paper, and they were about 18 and 5/8, I think, by 9 and 5/8 inches. The actual negative, and the roll 250 feet. Big roll.
Okay.
And they had to be processed, developed, and then they were in different parts of the photo lab.
So on base, you guys had your own photo lab to do the processing.
Yes. We had trucks there also that you could put a photo lab in a truck, but we never used the trucks. Okay. We'd process them, and then they would go to PI, photo interpretation. Okay. And then they would take them in.
Okay. And that was all on
what's on them until then they would do the actual
the analysis of
analysis and tell the big whips what was where and in their meeting rooms, and then they'd tell the Air Force to go bomb them. Or
so all of this was on the same base, the photo interpretation. You got to
we
them?
all lived on tents around the
but all the people in your tent, in your group, were all doing the same work that you were doing.
Yeah, right. They were all in our outfit, the 8199th.
Okay.
And we had nothing to do with the Air Force except do their work.
Okay.
And
Did you ever get feedback from like the photo intelligence people, like to,
No,
you know, that they
no,
would tell
no.
you what they discovered?
I wasn't high enough for
Okay.
anything like that. I was just,
Did you ever have film that the Air Force brought you that somehow they didn't do it right and there were no pictures or something?
no.
Everything worked good then?
When they got the roll of film, we all checked that out as it were drying on the drying machines, and they got everything. The PI would decide what was, they're very good in telling where the
Jackie said the word dodging.
Pardon?
Jackie said the word dodging.
Oh, that was a Sani process that you take one of those rolls where there's dark places on the negatives that you couldn't find out what they were, and when they were processed, put on paper to take a picture of it instead of a contact print. Mm-hmm. They rolled the paper and the film together like this, and then to get you have them over a light table, and you have levers to move the lights underneath, turn the lights off and on. There's I don't know how many bulbs are underneath this thing. There are many bulbs, 100 whatever, and they turn on bulbs to light where it was heavy on the to find out what was in there. They had to put some more light under them, or if it's thin and more like you could see through it very easily. You had to turn the lights off to get the picture that was under it, and they just moved on, and you just continuous printing.
Wow. Boy, I'm learning a lot today.
And that was called Sani. I've never heard of it. I've never seen it or heard of it since.
Okay. Okay. So what was it like at this, and now that you're there in Korea, you've been doing all of this work and stuff, how about, were you communicating back home to your family with letters?
Letters.
And did they send you frequent letters?
We had a PO number, APO, and we just get letters, have a mail call, and somebody...
How often did the mail call happen? Every day?
No, we got every week, about every week. I remember. Didn't recollect exactly how often they did.
Okay.
But
and your parents, were they sending you stuff?
Well, I in the letter I asked them to send me some toilet paper. So
Okay.
I got a package with some toilet paper in.
Did you?
A few times.
So there was not enough toilet paper at the base?
No. That's it. Well, what was there was like sandpaper anyway, but yeah, I got toilet paper.
Okay, outside of toilet paper, what was the best thing you got from your parents?
Christmas tree.
When I had time off, we'd go into Seoul, which was about, I don't know, a half hour, you hitchhike on trucks going down the road, army trucks, and you hitch a ride. And I just nosing through it's not a village, it was a big city of over 1 million. But I found an orphanage they were all little girls, about 3 to 5 or 6, all little girl, and I'd go see those every time I had those girls in there, and they'd put on a show for us, get there, they had a little playhouse, and I'd sit on a little stool, and then they'd sing songs for us. And
when you went on this leave, did you go by yourself, or you were with other people?
When I well, sometimes I go by myself. Sometimes, one time I got a 2.5 ton big truck, 3-axle truck, and I filled it with a bunch of guys. And
wow!
Take them over the village.
And how did you discover the orphanage?
I was just going. We were just nosing around, a couple of us, and I saw a little door in it was about 4.5 feet high, and it was halfway open to see some little girls in there. So we knocked on the door, went in, and there was an orphanage. There was a woman that ran it. It was a Catholic orphanage. And I'm not Catholic, but it was run by a woman, and she had a teenage girl, blind, that were helping her. And that's all there were. There must have been 20, 25, all little girls. And I'd have pictures of them. And I'd go every time we went. I'd go see them, bring them some candy. Bring some candy at Christmas time. I had my mother send me some hard candy, and then we take those over there. I don't know if they ate them or if they sold them or what, but they take them over there. I filled the truck with guys, and around Christmas time, and I said, bring a bunch of candy or whatever you can. We'll be going to the orphanage. Well, some of them didn't want to go, but I persuasive, and we all, half a dozen guys, we went to the orphanage. That was a big recreation.
How was it with the language? Were you able to pick up Korean words in order to converse, or did someone there speak English?
They did speak any English.
So it was just like a human-to-human connection, without words or without language. But they sang those when they sang this song, Deep in the Heart of Texas. Did someone teach them that?
That's what they got taught. They were taught, and that little house, we sat on stools, and they, half a dozen of them got up there, and they sang songs for us over there.
Did you get to know any one of them in particular that was a favorite of yours?
No.
Did you know any of their names?
I've got pictures of, there's some real cute little girls. I do have 35 millimeter pictures, but I don't have them printed or anything. That they were taken maybe 15 to 20 little girls. You see all their heads, and then me right in the middle. That's all. I've got a picture of that. That was. And you have to look at it for a while, then you see me in the middle. It was taken from the top.
Okay. Were these trips to Seoul, were they one-day trips? Did you
just a few hours.
Okay.
We worked 12 on, 12 off.
Okay.
So the 12 off, we had to do all our sleeping and recreation.
Did you, when you were 12 on and 12 off, did you have to switch times between 12 on a daytime and 12 on a nighttime?
Every month they switched.
Okay.
Where day 1 month, and night the next month.
I mean, did you prefer the day one? Was the night one very hard because it's so unnatural to be up? No? You adjusted to it?
No, you adjusted to it.
How about recreation on the base itself? What did you do there for fun in your off time?
Played cards.
Okay.
That's about it.
Was it poker?
Oh, yeah.
Were you good at it?
I was good at it. I sent money home.
Oh, boy. And how was the food there on base?
We had Air Force cooks. They were good. They were really good cooks. And
you remember any favorite meals?
We got rations. We didn't have a PX. There's no PX around. So we got a ration of, I think, 12 bottles of beer and a case of pop, and we got that.
Wait, was that just for your tent?
For each person.
Oh, each person. Wow, that's a pretty good amount.
You couldn't get it. There's no place to buy anything, so they were rationed to us.
That doesn't seem like a ration when you get 12 bottles of something.
Well, that was a week. We had a week's worth.
That's still a good amount.
Yeah, 12 bottles. And anyway, the sergeants, they got together and they acquired a cooler to put ice in, and they get ice from the cooks, I guess, and we donate it. Then we had to pay, I forget how much it was, quarter, whatever, to buy it. When we wanted some, they'd take it out and they'd charge us for it.
Okay.
They did that until there was enough money for one of the guys to go over to Japan and get some, and you get special orders from the CO to go to Japan, and we got Kobe steaks.
Wow.
And they had brought him on a courier or a plane that one of the ones that's going back and forth from Japan to Korea, and they brought him back, and the cooks they all got some too, because they bought pop and beer out of the cooler, and we had a big night of
wow,
Kobe steaks, and the cooks cooked them. And,
that sounds really interesting.
That was but it was we paid for it.
Yeah.
We bought our own.
Yeah. Speaking of getting paid, what was your rank when you were in Korea?
I was a private. There was 2 privates in the Army then, a private E1 and a private E2. Well, I went over. I was a private E2.
Okay.
And I think I was there 6 months before I made PFC. That was a 1 stripe, because there was I don't remember what her name was in Congress, a woman senator or a representative or
Maine senator.
Huh?
Senator from Maine.
A senator from Maine? Okay. She said, those boys in Korea really have it easy. They have turkey for Thanksgiving. Of course, they didn't say that they got out of a can. And they really have it easy over there. And so she, I don't know if it herself or whatever, but they froze all the ranks there. So I was telling Air Force sergeants what to do, and I didn't have a stripe.
Wow.
And they didn't know much about the photo industry, but they were running the show, what else was that?
When did you get your corporal?
I finally got a PFC while I was there. And I was there a year and a half. No, I was there a year and 3 months.
Okay.
In Kimball. And then a big people from the States, the Air Force come over, and they took over, and then we went to in Seoul. We went to an outfit in Seoul that did the same thing.
Okay.
And that was all Army. So the last 3 months it was all Army. Then I was
okay.
It had nothing to do with the Air Force.
Okay.
And there I made corporal right away, and I was head of the signing department.
So were you on an Army base near Seoul, or were you in Seoul?
In Seoul.
Really?
Right in Seoul.
But not on an Army base?
No, just a compound there. I don't know what it was before, but they had brick walls, stone brick walls around it.
Okay. But were you still doing the same work?
Doing the same work.
But you didn't have to be connected to an Air Force base
No,
then?
we were doing what things that they couldn't do, I guess. I don't know.
Okay.
I wasn't in charge of that.
Okay.
But
Speaking of your rank when you became a corporal in that, and just in general, how was it that you were paid in Korea? Did you get a regular paycheck? Was it money, cash?
no, we had to. I don't remember. I think we had a choice of Korean money or.
Oh, okay.
Well, in fact, I think we did get Korean, but I sent most of it back because there's no place to spend it anyway.
Okay.
Except on R&R.
Okay. Speaking of R&R, you had those day trips into Korea. Were you ever able during your 18 months in Korea to go to take a week and go to Japan or another country?
When I was at the air base, Air Force had 3 days every 6 weeks. The Army had 5 days every 9 months.
Okay.
So I had 7 Air Force and 1 Army R&R in Japan.
Okay.
And I didn't have a choice of where I was going to go.
So there was only Japan you could go to? On these R&Rs, only to Japan you went?
Well, yeah, that's the only point. I had to go where they.
And did you go by yourself or with?
Oh no, there was a plane load. They had so many guys that were.
Okay.
It was there's couriers that run back with supplies and whatever.
Were you in Tokyo?
I went to Tokyo twice, and I went to Nagoya the rest of the time. I was in Nara, but I did take one of the 2 times I was in. First time I was in winter of '51. We went to. Usually there's 3 of us that they put together, guys. But I was in Tokyo the first time, and I did have some pictures taken at a photo shop, sent home. But the second time I was there, I took a train. I got in a train station, how I don't remember, and I communicated I didn't speak Japanese, and they didn't speak too much English. But I went back to Nagoya.
Okay.
Because that was I knew I was there a few times before, so I went to Nagoya, and this train. It was a narrow gauge. They have really good trains now, but then it was a narrow gauge. And everybody on the train, they ate constantly. And there were people going up and down the aisle selling things. And they make a stop, and they get on and they sell things. Bringing us stuff to
sort of like
little wooden boxes with the rice in. And
sort of like their own version of fast food.
Fast food, right? So they ate constantly. There was one stop. We stopped once, and a whole bunch of people come on the train. They're all carrying something, boxes and lamps. And, I don't know what else, and a couple stayed there. Then all these people got out. we went on the train for maybe an hour, and it made a stop. Whole bunch of people come in on the train, all grabbed that stuff, and they all I don't know if somebody was moving or or what, but they had everything they owned, I think. So I think they were moving from one town to the next.
Oh my gosh. You know, I try and ask all the veterans that I interview this question, so you're going to get it too, like I've done all these. When you were in Korea, did you have anything that you considered like a good luck charm?
Yeah, I had a silver dollar in my pocket I carried.
Really?
Yeah, I got it when her mother died.
Okay.
No,
No?
you got it from your grandmother.
Oh, that's right, my grandmother. I got I got a
Okay.
different one from my.
So you had it with you all the
I had it
time?
in my pocket. It was like brand new when I got it.
Okay.
And I wore it out. It was, by the time I got rid of it, you couldn't tell.
So you were
Yeah,
moving
right,
with your
right,
fingers all the
right.
time. Well, it
But I had
worked,
that in my pocket all the time.
and it worked.
I guess
You're
so.
here.
I come back.
Well, that's an interesting one. I've heard all kinds of mixed.
Yeah.
Some I've heard stories from the veterans. You know, no, they didn't have any. Some had medals, crosses, you know,
Yeah.
religious items and stuff like that. But not a silver dollar. That's
Yeah,
a new
that's
one.
He's part Bohemian, so
Okay.
it was mine.
Wait, I do have to ask you this. Do you still have that silver dollar?
No, I got rid of it. I don't remember where
You
it
gave it
is.
to Randy.
I gave it to Randy? Okay. One of the grandsons.
Okay, okay. Well, that's good
But
to
you
know.
couldn't, you could just barely see a little bit of a head on one side. The other side was completely
Okay, okay.
gone.
So I'm going to move on like to the end of your service in Korea part. Were you still in Korea when the war ended, or did you come
No,
home?
I got out, and I think the war ended 3 months after that.
Okay, okay. What was the trip coming back home? How was it sort of the same thing? You
Coming
came back home on a ship?
No, the ship we went over on took 10 days. And we had a detour south. We came in through the Aleutians, all along the Aleutians. And we had coats on.
Okay.
It was cold, and all of a sudden we started taking clothes out. We were running around with T-shirts.
Okay.
On the ship, we went south, tried to avoid what do they call them? Typhoon
Okay,
in the south.
Okay.
And we still hit it. And the ship would go this way, then that way, and then people on the stairwells. The stairwell will go this way. They were still there, and they fell down and broke their arms.
Now you got to tell me this part. Now, were you seasick?
Oh yes. I got seasick the first time when we left the harbor, and we were in what's that big body of water up there in
The China Sea?
no,
Or?
in the state of Washington, up in the
Puget Sound.
Oh, like the Northern Pacific up there, no?
Puget Sound.
Puget Sound.
Oh, okay, Puget Sound.
It was nice and calm. We left there, and nice and
Okay.
calm, with not a wind or anything. Woke up, the ship was going like this.
So far your experience, as you've told me, you experienced an earthquake, and now you experience a typhoon.
Yeah, well, I got sick just leaving there. And I was in F deck. Now, F deck, it goes A down. The only thing below me was the screws. And I climbed up the steps on my hands and knees, and I threw up I don't know how many times. I finally got on deck, and I just laid there. Anyway, that was the typhoon that we were trying to get rid of.
Tell them why they wouldn't let anybody off the ship when you came back.
Oh yeah. When we came back home,
What port did you come back into? Was this in Washington, or was it San
I
Fran?
left in Washington. I went to first in in Japan, and then went to Korea, and then trained there.
Okay.
Coming home, just the opposite, a train down to Busan, and a iron boat over to Japan, and we stopped at Nara, and then we went on to around Tokyo. I forget what harbor, Tokyo Harbor, I guess, and it was a sergeant ship. The one we went over on was a general. Well, a general so-and-so. And that one was a reconverted luxury ship. It had wood in it. It had wood railings.
Wow.
10 days to get there, to get to Korea, or Japan. And this one, we left Japan. It was a sergeant ship, Sergeant so-and-so. I don't know if there's some toothpicks on board. That was the only wood on that whole ship. Anyway, it took us 23 days to get back. We saw, we were passing another ship, and there was a whale right between us escorting. So that was interesting. I never saw a whale before.
Right.
23 days coming back, and then when you get there, a little boat comes out with the harbor master to check the ship.
And what port were you coming back to?
The same one that I left
in Washington.
Yeah,
okay.
In Washington, and we were not far from land. You know, we were only a mile from land, or half mile, 3/4 mile. I don't know. Now you could see the USA there, and they came back. They had to come out and check the ship. Well, for 22 days, they had pork in the coolers and whatever on the ship. And I think it was tainted. Everybody got the runs.
Oh, wow.
There's 13 heads or toilets in the front, and I don't know how many in the back. But they closed the back ones up, and they left about, those 13. They left us 13 crappers open. Now, you get 3,500 men, all with the dysentery or the runs. To use 13 heads,
wow,
doesn't work. We hung our hind end over the side of the ship.
I hope you did it on the side that the wind wasn't blowing into you.
We did. We put our hind end over on the side of the ship, hold on the, and the harbor master come up. He wasn't there very long. Back.
So he went back because he couldn't.
We were sitting there in the harbor. We couldn't go in because it has to be inspected. It has to be clean. It has to be.
And you guys were all sick.
We were all sick. We all had the runs. So we stayed there. The next day, here come a boat full of sailors with mops and brooms and whatever, and they come up and they had these hangers, I don't know what they call them, planks, and where they clean the windows in a high rise. They were scrubbing the side of the ship. We couldn't go until the ship was clean.
Wow.
So we stayed there a couple days. And finally the harbor master come out and he checked it, and we passed. Then we went in. And there were all kinds of little boats with squirting the
water, like a welcome thing, or something,
And
so now when you came back, were you at the point where you were going to be discharged from the Army, or did you have to serve more time?
I was only had a couple weeks before I was out. In fact, I was extended already. I was drafted for 21 months, and that was I think 23 months right
Okay.
there.
Okay.
So I was already a couple months over my draft.
Okay. Okay.
We got that ship, and we got into port, and a bunch of people that were friends and relatives of some of the people on the ship, higher than a corporal.
Okay.
And so they run down the gangplank, and they met with their fathers or wives or whatever. They let them off first. So there wasn't a dry eye there on the ship.
Okay.
And then after all those big whips got off, our people that had, then we got off, and we went to the air base again until they put us on a train, and we had a train to Camp Carson, Colorado.
Okay.
And that train went about, I don't think it hit more than 10 miles an hour. And we stopped. Well, it took us 3 days to get from Tacoma, Washington to Colorado Springs. So we went to Colorado Springs, and then we took buses to Camp Carson.
Okay.
And we did stop. We made lots of stops in little towns. We were up in the mountains. It was nice to see, see all that. And you weren't going very fast, so we see a lot. Stopped a little town up in the mountains there. They couldn't have 1,000 population.
What was Camp?
Let all the guys out. Ran for all the taverns. They bought up every bottle of beer or a can of beer in that whole town and brought it back.
Was Camp Carson like a transition place?
Yeah.
Until you were completely ready to go home?
That's where we were. We had checked out medically and had shots in case we got something there. We already had shots in Washington at the Air Force Base, but they had to check us out again. Oh, here's one thing I forgot to tell you. In Washington, when we got there, everybody heard into showers. Leave everything you own here. Get in the shower, pick up all new clothes and everything.
Okay.
And leave everything, all our clothes, everything. So we're naked. We went and got out of the shower, and then all new clothes. I think they burnt everything. I don't know. But anyway, we got home and had checked out. Took about 3 days medically. We were checked out, made sure that we didn't have any bugs again. And then I took a train. Had to go, went to Colorado Springs, and had a train to Chicago.
Okay.
That was on my own money.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, you were now out of the
I
Army.
was out of the Army when I left Camp Carson.
And Chicago was the
Fort Carson now, but it was Camp Carson
Okay.
then.
Okay. And Chicago was again the point because you were still going to be headed up to Rhinelander.
Yeah. Well, my folks came down from Rhinelander
To meet you in Chicago.
Meet me in Chicago.
How was that gathering? How did that feel that you were back home safely and they were with you?
They were staying at. I had an uncle who lived in a town there. He lived in where did Clarence live?
Schiller Park?
Schiller Park. Yeah.
Or they were still in Chicago.
Yeah, Schiller Park. And then I stayed there a couple days and then went home.
Okay. And now back in civilian life.
Right.
And so now is when what was your job searching
I was
or
a
whatever?
linotype operator, and,
Okay.
and I got a job.
And was this in Chicago or Rhinelander?
Rhinelander.
Okay, Rhinelander.
Yeah, and I worked in the Waukesha Daily Freeman, which is 10 miles from Milwaukee, west of Milwaukee before I went to service, and coming home, I didn't do anything for about 3 months.
Okay.
I just finally looked for a job, and I finally found one at Tomahawk, Wisconsin, which is 28 miles from Rhinelander.
I think you looked for me first.
Pardon?
I think you looked for me first.
Oh, yes, I got, yeah.
Let's not forget that important part.
Right. Anyway, bought a new car.
What'd you buy?
I bought a Dodge, a two-door sedan.
Was it a brand new car?
Brand new.
So like 1953?
1953.
53, okay.
Brand new Dodge. And I had an old car before I went into service, a 1928 Chevy. And I had put it up on blocks, and it sat on blocks all the time I was in service. So I decided to refurbish it.
Okay.
It was in good shape. It was a one-owner when I bought it. I bought it when I worked at Waukesha and drove it home.
Okay.
And it was a four-door. It had shades, window shades on the sides and on the back.
Wow.
That rolled down on the inside. And it had a bar in the back seat, and a bar for a blanket bar. That for people in the back seat to have a blanket in the wintertime.
Hey.
Great.
And so I started working on it. It had a cloth roof to begin with, and the roof was pretty bad. So I went to the shop there that made chimneys and things like that. I said, I want a big sheet of metal, of corrugated, not corrugated, of sheet metal. So I got a big sheet, and I put it on the top, and I molded it and put screws in, and on the top. I made a new top for it.
Jeez.
And I got some paint, some Chevy paint, a green Chevy paint, and black. And I painted the body green, and I painted the fenders black, and running boards black, and put it up on each wheel on a blocks, and I painted the wheels yellow. They were, and then I spun the wheel with the black. I striped them with black paint.
Wow.
It was fancy.
Didn't it start with a crank?
Pardon?
Didn't it start with a crank?
Oh yeah, it started with crank, but it had electric starter. And I put it in parade, so I got back. I put it in parade. I went to Tomahawk, where I had worked. I was working then. And I had it in the parade there. But it was a Green Goose.
Okay.
And I've met her, and I took her out for a ride. I brought her in this little Green Goose.
So you met Jackie where? In Rhinelander?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I bought the car originally in Waukesha for $35.
Okay.
And it was a one owner, and I got boxes of papers. Every time that guy had the new spark plugs, he'd have a receipt, put them in a box. I had all from the 1928 on till I bought the car in about just before in 51, just before I went into service, I bought it and drove it home. But I put it up on blocks, and but it was a one-owner car.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
1928.
That's a good thing.
And I fixed it up, and it looked pretty good. It ran like a top.
Good.
And I took it in the garage and brought it in the garage, and they checked it all over, and it really run well. It's like a brand new car.
You know, when you came back home, was there any difficulty in readjusting back to civilian life?
I wore nothing but fatigues for 2 years, but I did, in basic training, I had a uniform, a real uniform that I go have a pass to go to D.C. But from then on, it was nothing but fatigues.
Okay.
And when I got home, I went to the men's store and said, well, what are they wearing here now? Well, they're wearing this and that and this. And I bought a sport coat and some pants and some ties and shirts. And then I put all this stuff up like I thought I looked like a clown. I had a sport coat and had pants with a crease in it and a tie. And I went out on a Saturday night. I went to the, on Main Street of Rylander, they had there was a kind of a nightclub place. And I went up there, I pulled in front of it, Angle Park on Main Street, and I sat there. I hear the music, they had a bar there, and I had music and people going in and out. I thought I looked like a clown. I went home. Really? I thought I looked like a clown. I didn't want to go out and everybody see me.
So what did you do? You changed clothes again?
No, I said I didn't go out for a while.
Oh.
And I didn't wear nice fancy clothes. You know, I had a real sport coat.
Okay.
But I didn't wear it for a while, so I got acclimated into civilian clothes again. But I did meet on a blind date. I met her, a buddy I had. I played trumpet in high school and a band and a college band. And he and I played trumpet duets together in the high school and on football field and things like that. And I went to his house and met her, you know, there. And that's how I met her when I got out of service. I thought she was pretty great.
Really good. I'm glad to hear that.
We've married in 65 years in a couple of months.
Wow. Congratulations on that. Congratulations.
Yeah,
that's a long time. Did you, now again, when you came back home now, by the time you left Korea, did you have a lot of friends? Have you ever kept up with anybody when you came back home?
Well, on the 10th anniversary of high school graduation, one of the guys, the guy that introduced us, I used to play trumpet with, he was dead.
Okay. But he was also in Korea with you?
No.
Okay.
I mean, when I got home, these are my friends that
how about any friend? Did you make any good friends from your Korean service?
I did, but I never did go see them.
Okay.
And they didn't ever come see me.
Okay.
So that's the last I saw them.
Okay. When you came back home now and you were sort of getting back into civilian life, did you decide at that point, did you join any veterans organizations? You know, like the VFW, American Legion?
No, never did.
Okay.
No American Legion, no Veterans of Foreign Wars or anything.
Okay.
This was Masonic.
What?
Masons.
Masons.
Okay.
Family history of people in
Yeah, my dad is a Mason.
Okay.
And I had joined the Masons. And I did get a job in Tomahawk.
And again, this being as a line-type operator.
Line-type.
Was that your profession through your whole work time experience? Were you a line-type operator throughout?
No, I got married, and we came down to Chicago, got married up north, and we moved down to Chicago in 51,
Okay.
61, in 61, and I got a job downtown. Had an uncle that was a printer.
What company was that with?
It was on Randolph and Green. Trying to think of that.
Was it like a printing company,
Yes,
newspaper?
a big printing
Okay,
company.
okay.
They had big presses there. And I got a job there. I worked there to get in the union.
Okay.
I got in the union. I got a job. My uncle got me the job close to home. We lived in Norwood Park.
No, we lived in Schiller Park then.
Schiller Park, okay, we lived in Schiller Park then. And
So how many years did you work as a linotype operator?
well, I worked till, 1954. The things were getting bad for hot tape type.
No, it wasn't 54.
Okay.
74.
Okay.
1974, things were getting bad for hot type, so I learned the cold type. That's done with photo.
Okay.
You photograph.
Okay.
And that didn't do, I had the knowledge, but there were 10,000 guys that were looking for work for 50 jobs, you know.
Yeah.
So I bought a dry cleaner, just around the corner from where we lived. Had a dry cleaner, 11, 12 years.
Okay. And that was in the city of Chicago?
That was right.
Hoffman.
Or Schiller Park?
No,
Hoffman, okay.
Hoffman Estates.
Okay.
We bought a house in Phillips. We had it 50 years in Hoffman Estates.
When did you come out to Hoffman Estates?
We were coming out to Hoffman Estates in '68,
Okay.
and we bought a house there. We saw the house for sale. We were on our way to Arizona. We were going to live in Arizona, buy a house trailer,
Okay.
and live there. We stopped in Chicago, stayed at a cousin in North Lake, and he said, why go, you know, why don't you just buy a house here, and you can sell it real easy, if you know, and continue on. And I said, all right. So we went from North Lake. We went to Schiller Park and looked for a house or something, and we saw a house for sale by owner.
Okay.
Went in there and liked the house. And it was, I had two uncles who lived in that town, and I liked the house, and Jackie liked the house. 3 bedrooms, and on a cul-de-sac, a quarter house, a cul-de-sac. So, well, I have to get things done. Can you hold a house for me for a little bit? I said, I didn't have, we're just about ready to go home. I said, well, I give you $10. He said, you hold it for till next week. So I, sure, we'll do that.
Wow.
So they held the house for a week until I came back and made decisions. We owned a house in
Eagle River. Eagle River.
Eagle River, yeah. I'm getting
Okay. Did you guys have children?
We had
3.
2 then.
Okay.
We had 2 right then, right,
Okay.
in a house in Eagle River.
Okay.
But they held, I'll tell you about Eagle River first, then we moved to Schiller Park. I worked at a newspaper there, and I could walk to work there. A small town, 1,250. And it was a county seat, Vilas County.
Okay.
And 2 kids there, 2 boys. And I lived there about 7.5 years. About that, yeah. And then we moved to, that's when I made a deal to buy the house in Schiller Park.
Okay.
And when we were in Eagle River, we bought some aluminum awnings. And they were $600, aluminum for the whole house, you know. And we financed it, and it just happened to be St. Paul Federal Savings in Chicago.
Okay.
And so I paid it up at the time we had paid all of it and bought that. We went down there and buy this house. So went over to St. Paul Federal, and my name was Marik. That's a Bohemian name. He started talking to me in Bohemian. I said, no, I don't speak Bohemian. And when I want to get a loan for a house in Schiller Park.
Okay.
And they looked me up, and they had all my about those on. I didn't even know that they did this, and they said, "Oh yeah, we'll give you a loan, no problem."
But he didn't have a job at the time.
Wow.
I didn't have. I had gotten a job downtown Chicago,
Okay.
and I quit my job on a Friday, and this was a Saturday. I went in on a Saturday, and they said, "Well, do you own a home?" I said, "No." You working? Well, not right now. I quit my job Friday, and I'm starting down here Monday. So today I haven't got a job. They gave me the loan anyway.
Pretty good. I like that kind of friendship and arrangement that they made. That's a pretty good deal.
And they had St. Paul Federal. They gave me. I didn't have a job. They gave me a mortgage on the house. I didn't have a job.
That's pretty good. I'm telling you, that doesn't happen too often,
No.
I think. We're going to enter another part of the interview now
Okay.
that the Library of Congress, they refer to it as reflections. So these are just more general questions about your feelings about things in general and stuff. So during your military life when you were there, what would you say are some of the lessons you learned about life in general by being in the military?
Well, I figure when I was in, I kept my nose clean.
Okay.
If you want to put it that way. The sergeants, they'd always have something for a crap detail for somebody. You know. So I figured if I don't let them know my name, I don't do anything that they say, "What's your name, soldier?" "Private so-and-so." Every time there's a job cleaning the latrines or something, "Private so-and-so, clean the latrines." But they didn't know my name.
Okay.
So in one outfit, I said, "Whose outfit here? Who's the sergeant?" I was in there in the sergeant's, the last day of basic, about the last week of basic training. Yeah. During basic training, there was one guy that he was whittling his name in the railing, and the sergeant caught him before we even started basic training. Every job that he could think of, so-and-so, private so-and-so,
Okay.
you know, do this.
So basically keep your nose
His whole
clean.
basic was really bad.
Yeah, yeah.
And about the last week of basic training, they asked me, "Soldier, are you what outfit are you in?" "I'm yours, sir." You know, your name is who? Private who? So there was 1 week left in basic training. They knew my name. I got a lot of details by doing that, not letting them know my name.
Okay, that's a pretty good approach, I guess, a strategy to life. So that's worked. Here's sort of another general kind of question. Because you obviously were in the Korean War in Korea, and now that that's removed from you, what would be your general thoughts about war in general today? Because you experienced war, and what do you think about how things happen today?
I'd say, you know, stay out of it as much as you can. But it's not. It's a good. I'm glad I was in the service.
Okay.
There's some people that they go in and they think they're number one. They don't. Then after they get in, they know they're not number one. Mm-hmm. They're a GI, general issue. So they. I would think I had discipline before I went in, but I learned discipline. That's the biggest thing, and think ahead.
Okay. Okay, that's good to know.
And you have to do that in the service.
Okay. Another sort of question, and this is more intended for anybody who would literally, hopefully, watching this interview at some point, but it's like for future generations. You know, do you have any kind of message you'd like to share with them about, you know, what they can do for life in general because of your own experience? Any message you have for future generations?
I would say people that have a son or daughter, it's let them go into service for a couple of years. It's good, do them a world of good.
Okay.
The rest of their life.
That's a good message.
Yeah.
Obviously, you feel strong about that.
I do.
It worked for you and stuff like that.
I've seen.
Okay, that's good to hear. We're going to now enter what we call the conclusion phase of the interview here. We're going to have a few more questions for you. Since I've been asking a lot of questions, is there anything that I've maybe not asked you that you'd like to say something about in terms of the interview that we've done? Anything on your mind? Anything you'd like to add? Okay.
Hey, excuse me, I got sinus.
Well, that's fine. That's no problem with that.
Loosened up.
So you feel that there's nothing else you'd have to add at this point in time?
I can't think about it right now.
Okay. That could be a sign of a good interview because we covered a lot of good stuff, I think. So, all right, if there's nothing else that you have to add to this, we're just going to conclude our interview then at this point. So I want to just add to this that this concludes our interview of Earl Marik, U.S. Army, Korean War veteran for the Veterans History Project. Thank you, Earl, for your participation in the Veterans History Project. It means a lot to us as individuals and to the nation as a whole that your story of your military service will live on for all future generations to reflect upon. Thank you so much for sharing with us your story of your military service. Thank you for your military service. It has been an honor and a privilege to have been able to interview you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. You're welcome.